So I'm going to be talking about the Golden Gran Fondo. It's a bicycle event that takes place every year, and it starts out in Golden and ends in Golden. And it was started in 2012. It's been held every year except in 2020 they didn't have it for obvious reasons. They used to have it in the last Sunday in June, but now it's in the last Sunday of August. They flipped it. It was too frickin' hot in June, and also the riders weren't really prepared for the challenge that the Front Range gives to people who are doing bicycle events. So they moved it to the last Sunday in August, and people are better prepared for it. And the Colorado Aries R1D6, Jefferson, Clear Creek, and Gilpin Counties supported this event. We had some people from other Aries districts as well, but mainly it was the group from Jefferson County. So Gran Fondo, what does it mean? Well, it's Italian for big ride, and the first Gran Fondo was founded in 1970, was held in Italy. It became a very popular event and spread worldwide, and you can find Gran Fondos many places in the world now: Asia, Africa, South and North America, and Europe. It's a long distance road cycling event, and the Golden Gran Fondo has 3 sub events. It's got a Piccolo, which is 20 miles, and it's got 1 time section. The time sections are always uphill. They don't time you going downhill because anybody can go fast downhill, especially when you're in the mountains. The Medio is 63 miles. That has 2 time sections, and the Gran is 91 miles, has 4 time sections. And we had approximately 300 riders this year, and that's been approximately what it's been. Some a little more, some a little less, but normally around that as an average. So how are the riders timed? Well, each rider has a numbered bib with an RFID chip. And as I said, the riders are timed in an uphill direction. There's a start section and an end section. So they got this RFID chip reader at the start and end, one at the start, one at the end. The riders also have a GPS device to direct their direction of travel. And I was got to see one of them. One of the riders, I was happened to be at one of the locations where they make a turn, and he was asking a question. My device says I'm supposed to turn right. Is that correct? I said, you have 10 minutes to go right, because then it's going to change to go left. So go ahead and go. And the course is marked with signs to direct the riders. In fact, they'll change those when there's an invalid time for them to go on in a certain direction. And when they go through these time sections, there's only a certain period of time when they're allowed to go through them. So if they're a very slow rider, by the time they might get to a time section, it may be an invalid reading because they took too long to get there. Here's the Gran course, and I don't know, can I do a pointer with this thing? Can you see my mouse at all? Is my mouse visible on the screen?
It's very small, but I can see it.
Maybe we've got a laser pointer. Here we go. How's that look? A little better?
Much better.
Okay, so we start here in Golden, and this portion here is the Piccolo. So it just basically loops up over Lookout Mountain back down into Golden. The Medio and the Gran go off this way up Golden Gate Canyon, all the way up to here. Actually, they go up this way, and then some will go this way for the Medio, and others will go in this big loop for the Gran. And if you look here, here's the elevation change going up from Golden up the Lookout Mountain back down again. And then this is the Gran. As you can see, we get up over 9,000 feet for parts of this ride. So this is these are large elevation changes, and the riders definitely have to be in good shape to finish this course. And some don't finish; they don't make it. So, in order to help these riders out, they have these aid stations, and these aid stations, and I'll show you a picture of what's at an aid station here in a little bit. These aid stations have refreshments for them and stuff. And we have 4 aid stations, and then of course at the end they go to Parfit Park, which is in downtown Golden at 10th and Washington. just in the north side of Clear Creek. So the one interesting thing is aid station 2 and 4. They're actually the same aid station. Aid station 2 is for the outgoing when they're going up the hill, and aid station 4 is when they come back. Now, here's the complex thing about this is the legal jurisdictions. We have the thing starts and ends in the city of Golden, so the Golden police are involved. Jefferson County is involved because as soon as they leave the city limits of Golden, they're in Jefferson County. Gilpin County is involved because as they go up Golden Gate Canyon Road, they'll eventually end up in Gilpin County. And that's the gambling county, if you remember, Black Hawk, etc. Part of the race will go through, or it's not a race, part of the event will go through Boulder County. One year, the race officials notified the Boulder County Sheriff's Office that, you know, part of the race was going to go through there. But it's one thing to get to the top of the pyramid, but sometimes information doesn't flow downhill like it should. And it was a real ruckus there one year, a few years back, when the deputies were complaining they didn't know anything about all these bicycle riders. And it turned out that the problem was not on our end. The problem was on the sheriff's office end. We also have Colorado State Patrol involved. They're mainly on the peak-to-peak highway, and we'll show some of the pictures of those dangerous intersections that they cover. And Golden Gate Canyon State Park, that's a state park, and so they have park rangers that have jurisdiction there. Now, as I showed you that map, there is very little cellular coverage over the course, just around Golden. You go up Golden Gate Canyon Road, there's nothing up there hardly at all. If you look around for towers, you're not going to see any except around maybe the sheriff's office. So the park rangers were at Golden Gate Canyon State Park were well aware of this, and so they are the ones requiring that either they get some sort of radio coverage for emergencies, and so they recommended amateur radio coverage. I think one of the rangers there was an amateur radio enthusiast, and so they recommended it for the emergency and the situational awareness. So that's why amateur radio has come to be part of this. So we'll come back and talk about the radio operators again towards the end, but just to give you an example, these are the number of radio operators we had, and we did not have enough. We could have used a few more. And so we had 2 at the communications van, and they were acting as net control. And you need 2 people there because one person, sometimes you got to go use the porta potty, so you got to have 2 people there so you don't miss anything. And in some years, we didn't have a communications van because there was a fire and it was being used by the sheriff's department. So we had to set up a portable net control station in the park there with a generator and that sort of thing. We have what are called rovers. There's 2 of them, and a rover basically drives around different parts of the course to check and make sure there's no problems or etc., things like that. We have what are called shadows. There's 2 of them, and the shadows ride with race personnel. They carry a radio and a mag mount that they put on top of the vehicle. And actually, one of the race personnel is actually a ham, but doesn't really want to use it. So anyway, the shadows are coordinating between the amateur radio operators deployed around the course and the race personnel. So they take information pertaining to safety, aid station needs, other situations are relayed to the race personnel. And the rovers visit these various locations, as I said, to make sure signs are posted, car and bicycle traffic are being handled safely. We did have a situation where car traffic was going down one of the roads. I'll show you that after a bit here. And we had to notify the park ranger to shut the road off so that cars wouldn't go where the bicyclists are going in the opposite direction. The aid stations, we had 4 people at aid stations, 2 at each mainly. And they would relay, you know, who's the last rider coming in, or any riders get there yet? Do we need any more food, any more water, things like that. And then we had one sweep, and it would have been nice to have another sweep. I was the sweep. The sweep is the last one. I follow the last person. Usually it's going to be the Gran, and so I'm there. And if someone can't finish, I have to radio in to get one of the shadows to get a vehicle to come over and pick them up. So here's where the event starts. Downtown Golden, right under the Howdy Folks sign. And there you see the bicyclists. There'll be, 300 or so lined up there ready to go. Since it's not a race, it doesn't mean you have to be in the front, because remember, we have time sections. That's what matters. So at 0800, they signal to start. They go off. One of the places they're heading up to in this first round, everybody goes up to Lookout Mountain. And this photo here is from Lookout Mountain Road, looking up towards Lookout Mountain. So they go up. What happened here? Oh, I accidentally hit my keyboard. It's touchy. The riders go up 19th Street in Golden, if you're familiar with Golden, to Lookout Mountain Drive. Then they climb up Mount Zion. That's where the big M for Mines is. From there, the riders climb Lookout Mountain. Finally, they travel downhill to Golden on US Highway 40. And so that completes the Piccolo portion of the ride. And they'll come into, those who are on the Piccolo will end up, after 20 miles, end up back at Parfit Park in downtown Golden. So the rest of the people, the Medio and the Gran events, they're going to go through the hills, and they're going to be lots of twists and turns, both uphill and downhill. And then an aid station. This is a typical aid station. It's going to have fruit, beverages, other types of snacks, things with high energy to put sugar back in these people so they can keep doing their thing, and also rehydrate them so they don't dehydrate. Now the first aid station is here at Normandy Park. It's on North Ford Street, just a few blocks north of the main highway coming into Golden. What's that? 58, I think, State Highway 58. So the only people that go to this one are the Medio and Gran. The Piccolo people have already done. They've already finished. They don't come this far. So this whole parking lot was filled with tables and things like that. There'll be a few vehicles from people that are involved at the aid station. There'll be amateur radio operator here as well. They'll continue north, straight ahead in the picture. After a while, after they go up, they go over to Golden Gate Canyon Road. And this is Golden Gate Canyon Road looking downhill. And this is Slough Pond. And aid station 2 and 4 are located right in here. And there'll be porta potties here, some vehicles, and a bunch of tents set up for people and food. And remember that this is both 2 and 4. So it's the outgoing and the downgoing people we're going to go through here. This is a pretty area, by the way, up in the mountains here. Golden Gate Canyon is a very pretty area. Now this is a little bit farther up from Slough Pond, a couple miles. This is the turn that bicyclists are going to take to the right that goes on to, this is what's called Mountain Base Road. And this is a state park facility here. Just right before this little creek in here, or I don't know what I'd call it, a slough, they put a timing section right here. This is the start of the timing section. And then these people will ride up this way, up the hill, and the end time section, I'll show you that next slide. This is the end of where Mountain Base Road stops, and this is Gap Road that's running across the T here. And the timing section ends a little bit back here. So they're timed all the way up this hill. And all the riders will turn left onto Gap Road at this point. And the park ranger, once they were notified, they blocked this off right here. and so nobody could go downhill. So the bicyclists had the ownership of the road going uphill, and no one could go downhill in the opposite direction. It was too dangerous to let the cars, part of the winding part of this road, some places you can't go more than 10 miles per hour, and you don't want any cars accidentally whipping out and hitting a bicyclist. That would be bad. Anyway, so that's what's going on here. So the next point, this is where Gap Road going west intersects Colorado 119, which is the peak-to-peak highway. So what's interesting is there'll be a sign here. There'll be two signs here, one pointing to the right and one pointing left, and it'll say Medio this way and Gran will be going to the right. So they'll come to this point. By the way, there's a state trooper that's parked here. So when the bicyclists have the right of way, and the state trooper will stop all traffic and allow the bicyclists to go whichever way they're going to go. So the state trooper is always on here. We normally will park one or two vehicles. The rovers might be here temporarily in this area to make sure everything's going okay. So Gran takes the loop to the north. Medio takes the loop back to go back to the barn. This is Rollinsville, and the Gran riders continue on this road going north, again on the peak-to-peak highway, and it's a beautiful view. To the left here, I don't have the picture, but it's a view of the Continental Divide, and the railroad comes through here, right through this area, and goes to Moffett Tunnel to go across. And once it comes out of Moffett Tunnel, it's right by Winter Park there. It's several miles, the tunnel is. It was built back in the early 20th century. So as we go along the peak-to-peak highway, we come to Colorado 72, which is Coal Creek Canyon Road, and the riders will turn right onto Coal Creek Canyon Road and start going in an easterly direction. This is the northernmost part of the big loop that they make. This is aid station 3, which is at Wondervu. The Wondervu restaurant, which is pretty famous, is next door behind this photo. And it's a great place for the radio operators to catch a breakfast and a lunch when they're there. Although the restaurant is cash only, but there is an ATM located in the restaurant if you need it. So when I was following the last rider, I got to stop here as they were packing up this aid station, and our radio operators were inside, and I walked in to the restaurant and had a quick iced tea with them before I had to move on to catch the last rider. As they continue on Coal Creek Canyon Road, they come to Twin Spruce Road, and at this point, the riders turn to the right, which is going to start taking them back towards Gap Road for their return journey, basically. So as I said, Twin Spruce Road will run into Gap Road, and then after many miles, Gap Road goes from pavement to dirt, and that makes it a little more difficult for them, for the riders. Finally, everybody, both Medio and Gran, as they come back onto the peak-to-peak highway, will turn left at this intersection. This is a very dangerous intersection. Blackhawk is just a few miles into the photo back this way. There's a state trooper that's parked just off to the side here, and he or she will watch for riders and then come out here, which I think is still dangerous for the state trooper to be out here, but seemed to know what he was doing the day I was working. And he'll stop the traffic, and he'll make sure that the rider gets the right of way going through this intersection. 1 year in the past, before we were getting the state troopers there on a regular basis, we did have a car bicycle accident took place here, and we had to get the Gilpin County ambulance to take someone back down into Lakewood. This is Crawford Gulch Road. This is a really difficult section. This is for the Gran people after they're done at aid station 4, they continue south and get onto Crawford Gulch Road, and it's a dirt road for this portion of it, and this is uphill, and it's this dirt road. It makes it really tough. You can see the washboard in here too. That makes it real difficult for these bicyclists. And there's still car traffic on this. There'll be cars traveling on the one side. A lot of, this one is one section that you tell them, you got to make this, because after this, it's all downhill. So you got to make it. Well, it's not really all downhill. There's a few sections that aren't, but still, it's mostly downhill after this. And this is where Crawford Gulch Road then becomes paved again, comes out here and spills back into Golden Gate Canyon Road, back going downhill to Golden. This is another intersection that's dangerous. There are 2 Jefferson County deputies posted right here where it spills out again to direct traffic, make sure the bicyclists have the right of way. That same year that we had the bicycle car incident, there was a 30 bicycle pileup that happened here, and all these bicycles that fallen over, and we had to check to see if anybody had a bicycle that was no longer usable or if anybody was injured and things like that. But it's just amazing when you get all these people all bumped together, and if one person goes over, that can cause an avalanche. And then when it's all done, you go to the end of trail, which is Parfit Park, and they have a big party there. They'll have food and drinks, beer, things like that. The last rider will usually get done. So we started 0800. We'll usually get done by 17:30, 5:30 p.m. And the last vehicles that will come in that have an amateur radio operators in will usually be the sweep or one of the rovers or both. And since I was a sweep, I was not the last, but I was the next to last. One of the rovers was last. So again, here's the radio operators that we used. So we had the net control, the rovers, the shadows, the aid station, the sweep, and you can see why we needed everybody like we did. So what radio frequencies did we use? Well, we had 2 UHF analog. And I'm not going to give you the exact frequencies because one of them's kind of secret. 1 VHF APRS, so we're using APRS on this, and I'll show a map of that. We had DMR, digital mobile radio, and we had 2 UHF frequencies available for that. We had a DMR talk group, and the DMR frequencies that we're using were on that same talk group. So that was very nice. So you could be able to talk to each other even though you might be on different repeaters or frequencies. We had 1 state public service frequency. That was one of the MAC channels that is used so we could talk to the law enforcement. And the amateur radio operators that are trained in using public service radio were using those. I am one of those people who is trained in those public service frequencies. We had repeaters. We're located on both Mount Thornton, and I know it's not called Squaw Mountain anymore, but I cannot pronounce what it is. I still remember the Squaw Mountain. I think they should have kept it in English and just called it Indian Woman Mountain, but they haven't done that, so no one listens to me. They don't care. This is what the Jefferson County communications van looks like. This was a setup for a set last year. That van has multiple public service and amateur radios in it. It has a generator to run the equipment, and it can also use shore power in the event of a generator failure. We had a problem getting the generator started for this event, and fortunately there was another generator that the race personnel had, and we were able to plug in shore power to that. And this vehicle is also used in the field for fires in the Jefferson County area. The comm van normally is parked right up here during the event, which is and the park here is just filled with stuff relating to the to the bicycle event. And usually the buses come to this point and then they pull out that way. This is a bus route along here. The Mountaineering Museum is just over here on the north side of 10th Street here. The street back here is the finish for the bicyclists, and that's Jackson Street right here. And there's good reception here and transmission to the repeaters that we use for the event. So here's Indian Woman Mountain, and so we have one DMR and one analog repeater that is on this mountain, and they're located on this peak over to the left side at the top of the mountain. And the public service and government repeaters are on the mountain, but they're on this side of it, on the right side here.
It's s.t.e.m.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. Would you say s.t.e.m?
S.t.e.m.
Indian Woman. Yeah, that's it. So Mount Thornton's right here, and s.t.e.m, or whatever, s.t.e.m is over here. And so the Golden Gate Canyon Road is this way. And you can see that these two repeater locations are flanking the entire course, which came out really good. It works out very well. Well, the northern tracks are better served by Thornton, whereas the southern ones are better served by Indian Woman Mountain. So we had APRS running, and this was a setup in my car. So I had an AVMAP to be able to display what I was seeing. And I have my Kenwood TM-D710GA. And I also had digipeating on so that anybody I picked up, like one of the small HTs that people might have, I was digipeating that back out on the plains. I also had a Yaesu FT857D in the vehicle to monitor another analog frequency. And of course I had a DMR handheld, which worked pretty well. So you can see my route driving here. So here I am, K0LAI-9. And so I drove up to get to my location along I-70. And then I took the new road that goes to Blackhawk and Central City up this way. And then I parked right up here. Where was it? Right here, I guess. Oh, right here. I was parked right there for a while, waiting for orders of what to do. And you can see how I went up to Rollinsville and all this area here, following the bicyclists. And I also had to do a stint through here. I had to check to make sure all the riders were done here. So I had to go up that way and check it and back down again. So I thought about what can we do better, and I think we need more radio operators. So we'll have to put a shout out to get more. We need digipeaters on Thornton and Squaw, so we're going to look into that. We're going to try to implement that next year. I think that would help a lot to get a lot of people have the HTs that have APRS capability, and certainly some of the newer DMR radios now will beacon a legitimate legal APRS packet. So that would be nice. The guys that have the DMR radios will also have an analog packet they can send out. I thought about radio operators at a bicycling event with APRS running, but I don't know if that would really bias anything. I think with the vehicles we have, everything's on a road, and with the vehicles we have, we probably got things covered. So I don't really know if we need that or not, but I put an asterisk there to think about it. So in summary, the amateur radio provided the primary communications for the event. The APRS provided supplemental situational awareness. So the net control down in the van was using a software called, I think it's called Pinpoint or something like that. And it's written by somebody from Douglas County that's in Douglas County, Aries. And he can go and look at a call sign, and he can right click on it and then change it to a tactical call sign. So when I was driving around, he changed mine to sweep, so he would see sweep on the screen and immediately understand that. And definitely DMR provided a communications mode across a wide geographical area using a common talk group. I mean, for me, I was using it 90% of the time. I just had a little HT with 5 watts, and it worked great up there in the mountains. Sometimes I had to go back to an analog repeater, but and I'm glad I had that as a backup. But it's just amazing how well the DMR worked. I'm considering myself personally of buying maybe a mobile rig for such a purpose. And finally, I got to give credit to who supported the Golden Gran Fondo, and that's Colorado APRS, and I'm in Region 1, District 6, which is Jefferson, Clear Creek, and Gilpin Counties. And that's who did all that. And that's my presentation. Any questions, comments?
Larry, this is Jeff, and you may have stated it, but how many amateur radio volunteers were involved in this?
Yeah, it was on one of those slides. About a dozen of us, probably, maybe less, 10
And
or
how
11.
How did they handle credentialing? Was there central credentialing for the event?
Yes. Yeah, all of us have to have a background check. And
I meant more so check in and check out to make sure everybody.
Oh, that, yeah. Okay, so at 0600 we had our reported in 0600, and then as you're done with your duties for the day, you so let me get out of here. As let's see, where do I end? Stop presenting. There we go. As you're done, you have to go to physically go to the van and check out, basically. And you wanted to anyway, because you get a free T-shirt. That's our payment, a free T-shirt.
And I should interject here that we've got 25 participants tonight, and I did